Hello and welcome to Law and Order SVU here on FANVERSATION. I'm Yael Tygiel. That's Taylor Gates. Hello, Taylor.
Hello.
Welcome to the season finale of season 26. This is season 26, episode 22, Post Rage. Before we jump in, let's start with the important stuff. If you're in a situation where you are assaulted, you need help, please reach out to RAINN. Their number is 1-800-656-4673, 1-800-656-4673. Taylor, what does that spell?
It spells hope.
Great. Now that we've done that, this episode dealt with serious issues. SVU does deal with serious issues. We on the SVU podcast deal with serious issues in non-serious ways. So consider this your content warning. This episode was something, and therefore we will say something. Here's the quick app. SVU investigates a string of sexual assaults involving female psychiatrists, and the squad celebrates a promotion. Let's start with the promotion, because to be fair, possibly the most entertaining part of this episode.
And that's really saying something.
So Velasco has been promoted. He is now a detective second grade. I do appreciate him asking, did I do something wrong when he got invited out? Specifically because I also have been known to go, what's wrong? When somebody says my name, as though something's always wrong. And then we get this flashback montage during his ceremony to let you know he's leaving whether you knew it or not, which is weird to promote him and then be like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I was like, what a strange way to do. Like, why not just promote him in a different department? Okay, sure. What the hell, sure? Why not?
Why not be like, we're promoting you and now you've been requested for this other team? You know what I mean? Like, give him a send-off. But no, it really was like, hey, we're so proud of you. Your story's so good. We've loved having you here. Now get the fuck out.
Okay.
Alexa in the chat. Goodbye, Velasco. Yeah.
I don't even know. Okay. I don't know. Good for him, proud of him, happy for him. Weird that his episode, I feel like, was so long ago. So all of the stuff they were mentioning, I was like, oh yeah, that they did say that to him like a lot of weeks ago. So, and we've had so little of him between now and then that I was like, okay, weird choice. Like, you could have added maybe a couple more things throughout the season so it didn't feel so jarring. But happy for him, glad.
Deanna in the chat says it's like raising a puppy and sending him to a farm. Yeah, but like, it wasn't like we see that he's getting, sent elsewhere. It just really feels like they were like, to the actor, they were like, thank you so much for spending time here. Now get the fuck off the lot.
Yeah.
And sadly, that was, I think, the most entertaining part of the episode.
Well, it didn't feel like a season finale, I'll tell you that.
It was, in addition to a lot of problematic shit, which we'll talk about, this was possibly the most boring episode.
I'm so glad you feel the same way, because I was like, maybe it's just an off day, because I watched it this morning before this. I was like, maybe I'm just like tired and kind of not feeling it. But the fact that you also thought it was boring shit is helpful to me, because I was just like, I can't even focus because I care so little. It's just people walking around with a notebook. Like, I don't care. I'm sorry. And like, we spent so little time with every single one of the suspects that I didn't feel interested in any of them, because we just flip. Like, we just went through a line. Like, we didn't have any follow through. It was just like little vignettes almost. So weird.
Genuinely. So I watched this episode on Thursday. I like to watch not live, but night of, an hour after it airs so I can fast forward commercials, because I still pay for TV. And then I rewatch before we do the show. And literally I sat down this morning to rewatch and I went, what happened in this episode? Could not for the life of me remember what the episode was from 2 days ago. and then saw the title and went, that's right, it was the therapists. Couldn't remember anything else. Let's talk about a couple of things. First of all, the concept of post-rage come down is interesting and would have been a much more interesting topic to discuss in this episode. It was brought up once when Benson mentions it and explains. It's the title of the episode. We see that the perp puts the victim with a pillow and a blanket, and it's about guilt and shame. And then those ideas are suggested to our perp at the end. That's it. That's all that I was like, that's an interesting concept. Why don't we have something like, why isn't it about that?
Because we don't have Wong here. We need him or someone like him to explain this shit and have everyone actually understand it and how it relates, and just throwing out buzzwords and not doing anything with them.
100%.
Anyway.
We also have genuinely some interesting suspects that would have been so much better. First of all, her friend, the other therapist, was sus as fuck, right? I was positive that it was him.
Same.
And when they sent him,
Alexa agrees. That guy was fishy.
Alexa says, I actually liked it. I thought Gary was going to turn out to be the perp. Totally. Definitely thought it was the therapist, Daryl. Thank you. When she was sent home, when they were like, it's not safe to go home, we think maybe you should go to a friend, and they sent her back to his place, I was like, oh shit. Like, this was the plan all along, because that would have been interesting. That would have been so much more interesting. And I will say this is a great theory that I cannot take credit for. It came from my roommate who watches with me. And his suggestion was, had it been Dr. Gary Schwartz, the idea that he is a therapist, right? So like, he thinks that he does the work, air quotes on that for those listening to audio, right? So he thinks he is evolved and therefore put in all this effort to win this woman who's, she's single now. So it would have been much more interesting to have this entitled guy who thinks that he deserves her. And I guess it's nice to see a guy be nice, but go on.
Or the guy who thought he pushed a man into subway tracks and assassinated the former president. Fascinating. Why are we not talking to him more? Because I want to learn more about that man.
That guy was such a waste.
Right? Like, there's so much stuff you could do with him. That's fascinating. So I was like, I think everyone was like, oh, damn, the subway tracks thing. Like, that makes a lot of sense. And then you talk about the former president, and everyone was like, now, hold on now. Like, I love that little bait and switch, and I wanted to talk to him more.
Alexa says he was a serial killer, but not a psychopath. We didn't get what his actual diagnosis was. And we'll talk more about that in just a second, because I think there's a whole lot of problems. I want to talk real quick about the abusive husband and wife, because I caught it the first time and I was like, maybe I was wrong. And so when I rewatched, I went, no, I caught it a second time. She says, right, her husband is abusing her and he has a drug problem and he starts to get paranoid and thinks that she's cheating. And when they come to her and are like, we're heard about your husband, we're looking for him, or we found him, this is after he died, whatever. And she's like, yeah, no, it wasn't about the abuse. It wasn't about the abuse. She was like, yeah, that was fine. What? You were fine with him beating you, but no. When he starts accusing you of cheating, that's too far. And she's like, yeah. We didn't see her because of the abuse. We saw her because he had this addiction problem that led to paranoia, and therefore he was, controlling and awful. Ma'am, let's back it up.
They're also so connected, girlfriend. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
But she's like, I could put up with a lot. Yeah, that's not the point. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah. I will say the one
Mhm.
thing that I will give this episode credit for, great stunt work. A lot of stunts. A lot of stunts that I thought were done well. He
Lots of
jumped off the
jumping.
bridge. I liked that. When he went from the roof to the fire escape to the stair, I was like, okay, the like stunt choreographer like popped off, and so did the stuntman. So good job. I will give you guys credit for that because I thought that added a little fun flavor. It was giving Mission Impossible. Like I like that.
All right, Tuesday's calling me out, and I deserve it. Tuesday says, as weird as it is, this happens. I didn't. I'm guessing it was leave my abuser until he called me selfish. That was my limit. I have a similar background. I would like to apologize for anything inappropriate that I said. And I
will
do
say,
understand.
I think
I
we're
do.
more critiquing the writing and how it was like
Yes.
unfolded rather than her character, because of course, yes, that's very much a real thing. I think it was just written very simplistically and interestingly.
Thanks, Taylor. Yes, and I will also take credit for my poorly worded things. The stunts, the jumping. My notes has jumping, another jumper, then Bruno jumps. There was good stunts. I have to point this out because it felt necessary. At the end, our first victim, Dr. Gretchen Stewart, says, some people are just beyond help. Which is a horrific fucking message to come out, but also.
But she's not going to stop trying to help people, Yael.
Are you sure?
That's what she said.
Yeah.
That's what she verbatim said, but that's not going to stop me from trying. Okay.
I don't know that I would trust you to try and help if you believe that some people can't be helped.
Yeah.
But that brings me to what I found, which is one of the greatest reviews of this episode on IMDb, and I felt like it needed to be appreciated. So I'm going to read you this review of this episode. As a practicing mental health professional, it was obvious that this episode didn't have one of us on set consulting during the writing or production of the episode. Not only was this episode a bad cliche, it's a bad portrayal of what mental health challenges could often look like. Sorry. The last thing we need is more stigma attached to mental health challenges and more ignorantly skewed portrayals on television of individuals struggling with their mental health. I was very disappointed in the SVU episode. SVU usually doesn't ever get it wrong this bad. Important words. I will also add, this is my favorite takeaway. Like a minor note, I will also add that most of us specialize to some extent, and it would be quite rare to have a caseload full of clients with such vastly different presenting concerns. This was just a bad take on a bad premise, and I wish I could unsee it. This review is fantastic and accurate.
Yeah. Agree.
All right, let's talk about our Ted Schramm / what was his other name? Keith Sparks. So, first of all, I understand wanting to go with the name Keith Sparks as opposed to Ted Schramm.
Mm-hmm.
But secondly, the idea that they try to manipulate him with this interrogation is free therapy situation. This guy was institutionalized a few times, has been seeing therapists for many years, has been dealing with these things, and has been really failed by the mental health system. And in the US, the mental health system is awful. It is terrible. So the fact that they have failed him, and his defense is obviously going to use a mental health defense, especially because he has a history of being institutionalized. He has a history of seeing getting help. But Benson and Carisi are like, no, he must go to jail, as though that is a solution. There's so many things wrong with this episode.
Yeah. Also, I don't know, maybe this is going to be a controversial bad take, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like, yes, I don't doubt that this guy had many mental health problems that he should be helped with, but also the incel vibes were so strong. Like, why did we not talk about that at all? Because that was such an element of this, and frankly, an element I am like so exhausted by seeing constantly on the show. But I feel like you don't ever like actually tackle it. It's always like paired with something else, like it was in this episode. Like, let's discuss that, because that was also, I think, an aspect of it. At least that's how it came off to me, that we didn't even discuss at all.
Which is an excellent point. His crime, right? Every aspect of his crime seemed to have some sort of, metaphor, connection, symbolism, except for the sexual assault, which felt very much like a shoehorned in to make it SVU, and had nothing to do with anything. And that's weird.
Yeah, just everything you said, I was like, there is for sure an element that's not just mental health. That to me, it seems like, at least. And like I said, I'm not a professional in this, but the way it was written, it seemed like they were just grabbing from other people that they had written already that were not dealing with this kind of, you know what I mean? It just felt kind of lazy and not handled the way it should have been handled.
Well, let's give some shout outs for this episode. So first of all, it needs to be said, because it's their last episodes, I believe. Velasco is played by Octavio Pisano. He is no longer Detective Velasco. He is now Detective Second Grade Velasco. And our Detective Kate Silva, who is also leaving, is Juliana Aiden Martinez. And they're leaving us, which is a choice. And we'll talk more about season 27 in a bit. Dr. Gretchen Stewart was played by Betsy Brand, who many people know from Breaking Bad.
She deserved a better character than this.
Yes, I agree. Or even like to be more in it.
She was just so boring. I'm sorry, but she didn't even get to do anything. Like, there was no real emotion, even. You know what I mean? She was just kind of there. And I don't think that's her fault. It just was kind of the way she was written.
It almost feels like it could have been, and this is going to sound really mean, but like it could have been a day player rather than a guest star.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also have Dr. Gary Schwartz, who's played by Michael Torpy, who is a repeat offender. He was in season, I believe it was 18 Jeans, I think it was called, which is obviously an episode about rape jeans.
Slim and pair of jeans.
Not those jeans. We have had Emmy Libby Wagner like all season, if not longer, and I feel like we always skip over her for actor shoutouts. But Natalie LeConte, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Who else do we have? Ted Schramm / Keith Sparks was played by Brian Krinsky. Anne Fierro was played by Sarah Goke. Who else do we need? Richard Wright is played by Liam Craig. Did I get everybody? Oh, Anthony Fierro, played by Nick. Oh, Nick, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I'm gonna go with Kook, because that's not my instinct, and I don't want to be mean. Yep. Do I have the stunt coordinator? Let's find out. Stunts, yes. The stunt double for Brian Krinsky was Richard Buckman.
Good job. You did great.
Necessary for this episode. Totally. All right. So we will talk about next season in just a bit. It's time for best lines. Best lines. I have one.
I have two. So that tells you how bleak this episode was.
All right. My line is Benson's got so much juice downtown she could start her own beverage company.
Yep, I now have one because that was one of mine. And it was a subpar one, but his delivery is always classic. But when we find him, we'll make sure not to knock his teeth out just in case. Which never really went anywhere, did it? The teeth thing?
Nope. The biting went nowhere.
Well, bummer. I was kind of hoping we were going to get some teeth stuff, but alas.
Yep. Wow, that is the saddest best line
that
section.
Was really a bummer, but no one said anything that memorable.
No. All right, we have show news. So for those who have been missing all of the show news we've had for the last few weeks, here is the catch up. We have a season 27. We have a new showrunner. Michelle Fazakis is our new showrunner, the first female showrunner for season 27. Both Velasco and Silva are not going to be there in season 27. And the big news this week is Rollins is returning. Rollins returns after 2.5 years.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
I love her, so I'm glad. However, I want the old Rollins back. I do not want her playing sweet little wifey. I don't like that Rollins. I want her to be a little unhinged and break some rules and have a personality and purpose outside of Carisi, because that is a slippery slope that I feel like they've been slipping on more often than not lately. So we better get some real Rollins back.
Hold these thoughts.
Okay.
I will let you continue going off in just a minute. The other big news is I've mentioned before that Mariska made a documentary. It premiered yesterday at the Cannes Film Festival, and it will be premiering on HBO Max or HBO or Max. I really don't fucking know.
HBO Max now, they changed it back.
Yes, but it might be on the channel HBO.
Oh, I see. Yep. Oh my God.
Not the point. Point is June 27th. So you will be able to watch My Mom Jane, which is a documentary about Jane Mansfield, who was Mariska's mother, who died when she was 3. And Mariska was in the car during the car accident. And she doesn't really know her mother. So that documentary is coming out. That is the news. Keep holding. You know what? We're going to do it now.
More to say.
I do. We're going to do it now. I made a new segment. Usually at the end of the season, we do like a wish list for the next season. And I decided this season finale, it's called Dear Michelle Fazakis. Here is our wish list for season 27. So Rollins is back, and I agree with you wholeheartedly that you're one of the good ones, Rollins back. I want going undercover, not asking permission.
Yes.
Yes. You were mentioning that it was a slippery slope when you become a wife on a TV show, when you become relegated to just partner of main character. And I hope that her return does bring us back at least a Rollins that we can enjoy. Because yes, it has been years. She is a mother. She has adapted and grown and progressed. But I don't believe that she wouldn't still bend rules.
Okay, I have a question too, because what is she doing now? What is her like job title?
She is a sergeant with the hold on, I have it right here. The shit, I had it a second ago. I gotta scroll up. One sec. The she was a teacher, and now she is I have it.
Teach.
She was a teacher at Ford.
Yeah.
Um,
Subject.
yes. Intelligence section. Thank you. She's a
Okay.
sergeant in the intelligence.
So that's the thing. It would be actually really interesting if she came back and she took more of that like role or perspective, because correct me if I'm wrong, but it was more of like a profiling type thing, right? And like looking into the psychology of the people, right?
Yes, but it sounds like what you're describing is going to give her more of like a desk role where she
Which,
like
yeah.
sits there and tells us facts.
Well, I don't want that, but I just feel like there could be
As
like,
Daryl says, data squad.
well, there could be like a middle ground of her still being in the field and going and doing stuff, but her perspective would be more of the like profiling, and because she already kind of did that. I feel like the one of the good guys thing, I feel like stems from that. So I would like her time away to have changed her in some kind of way that made her a more interesting dynamic, or like just a different dynamic, because otherwise it's like, what was the point? Which already, what was the point of her leaving for 2.5 years? But I feel like it would mean something, and like if it had some kind of impact that was like positive and helped her work with the squad in a more unique, effective way, while still going a little cry sometimes.
Deanna said it beautifully, make her an unhinged Wong.
That was so good.
I will say this. I think that you're right. I think it would be very interesting because she used to profile. That was like her whole thing. And then she would go out there and break some rules or bend some rules and do what she thought was right. And honestly, it might be interesting to have her come back and be there. I put together this profile. I put together this methodology. I did all this research, data dump. And then after a few episodes, be like, let me back in the field. You know what I mean? Like let it grow or evolve naturally. Because I miss, as much as I hated how she'd be like, I see you, no one else gets you. I hated it, but it was entertaining to watch.
It would have been so good in this episode even.
Mm-hmm.
I completely understand. Like it could have worked. I also want Cat back.
Okay. I want, this is the evolution of my wants because I made this note. I want more Bruno, but I want to see Bruno go undercover. But I want to see everyone go undercover.
Yeah, agree. I love an undercover.
Right? Yeah.
I want
so good.
I'm just gonna keep telling Michelle what I want from her.
That's what this segment is.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I like it when it gets emotionally poignant, but I also love humor. So make the cases wacky, crazy, twisty, turny, funny lines. Don't be afraid to have fun. Okay, don't be afraid to have some fun.
I will say this. If the case is poignant, is smart, is serious, you can still have the humorous lines and the quips and not negate the serious and heaviness of the episode. So like, I don't need the crazy twist. I don't need Send in the Clowns. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's not necessary because you can have the humor and the fun and the entertainment in the serious.
Just think outside the box, because I think we're getting tired of the same spaces, the same people, the same topics. There's so much out there. Make it like, give us something new. It can be as easy. I always reference this, but this season where she worked in a little insurance place, it was something we hadn't seen before. And I think we all really liked that. So take us to like worlds and weird places that we haven't gotten to explore, because that's what makes it more interesting. Or just have the characters be like specific, whether it's specific in the way that's like a little bit silly and out there, or in a way that makes us really connect with them. But like being general and broad, I think is the biggest mistake you can make with any show, but especially this show.
I think also, as you point out, that like we're going into season 27. We've seen a lot of stuff. So take us places we haven't been. Technology and the world we live in has progressed so much that I want to see how that impacts these things. and let the cases be different. Don't take the easy path. Don't take the obvious answer. If you are going to take the obvious answer, do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
Make there be a reason for it. Alexa in the chat says, if Bruno and Rollins undercover together,
I'd be here for it.
So here for it. Yeah, I think there's a lot that can still be done. I think there's a lot that has never been explored, which I think is wild. Unfortunately, we live in a world where things are still happening and the world is changing and evolving. And we can rip from those headlines and do something with them. So yeah, make a statement and say something, but think about what it is you're saying.
Let us go to court more. We are like never in court. And it's literally half the show, or it's supposed to be. So let us go to court more. I'm going to say it. I'm going to get hate. But I would not mind a new lawyer. I'm sorry. Carisi's not doing it for me. He never has. I wouldn't mind switching it up. Have him go back with Rollins and be a detective again. I don't know, man. I've never been that compelled by him in the courtroom.
It might be interesting for an arc, maybe 3 to 6 episode arc, where Carisi stays home with the girls. And we used to get, there was like a time period where our DAs switched a bunch. Right? Remember we got Sharon Stone for 3 episodes? Sharon fucking Stone for 3 episodes?
Iconic, first of all. Yes, I agree. I just feel like if I'm looking at the lawyers we've had, Carisi ain't in even top 5, I don't think, for me. Like, when Casey Novak exists, when Alex exists, when Barba exists, like, he's just not eating up like they did. I'm sorry.
Deanna points out, bring or use more interesting defense lawyers and prosecutors. I agree. Buchanan, the fact that, look,
Rita,
I've been watching this show.
I've
been watching this show since the beginning, and I can name Calhoun and Buchanan as defense attorneys. We have had so many more. I can name 2. Give us something.
Bayard Ellis.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was great. He brought such an interesting perspective.
Yes.
Even if he pissed us off sometimes, that was a memorable DA.
Yeah. No, he was a defense attorney.
Sorry, I get all of them mixed up, which is why I'm just saying lawyer, because I forget all of the letters constantly.
Fair.
Whatever. That guy.
Yeah.
He was great.
Good one. I think there's a lot to work with. All we're saying, dear Michelle Fazekas, is there's a lot to work with and a lot that can be done. And we love this show and just want to see more.
Yeah.
So that was a segment I decided we needed to have for our finale.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks. It's time for shower thoughts for our friends who listen in the shower. I hope you have a wonderful, relaxing shower as we head into summer. I hope it is refreshing. And I have, I struggled with Would You Rathers. So I'm going to give you, all right, I'm going to give you one there. It's awful.
Oh, no.
Like this episode, the Would You Rathers are awful. Would you rather your car gets shot up while you're in it, or your windshield get broken by a body while you're in it?
The first one was what? Shot at?
Shot up. So your car is getting shot up. You're inside. Or your windshield is broken by a body. You're inside.
Windshield?
The one body?
Yeah, because I feel like if nothing else, that's a pretty good story. The other one just seems scary. And the body one is for sure scary and traumatizing. And I would go, obviously, to therapy, which ties into this episode. But that's a cartoon. You know what I mean? Like, what a crazy thing to happen. So I'm doing that just because it's more of a novelty.
But think about it this way. Yes, the bullets are scary, but the other way, you are literally looking at a dead body now.
I mean, a bummer. Don't get me wrong, bummer. But I feel like it's also over more quickly. Like if you're gonna like, there's a lot
Not
of
if
stuff.
you're sitting there looking at it.
I would get out of the car and no longer be looking at it.
That's fair.
Leave.
You are not alone. Deanna in the chat also says windshield. Alexis's body for sure. Daryl, did you watch this episode? Body like a corpse?
He was dead when the impact.
Eventually.
He jumped. It wasn't just like someone threw a body.
Yes, but a body on your windshield versus bullets shooting at you.
Yeah, body. It feels less menacing that way too.
Daryl says better to look at a dead body than be one.
Yeah, it's less menacing. It's like, oh, I just got caught up in this. Whereas the bullets, that feels targeted. And like they want me dead.
Fair. The other option for question.
I'll answer this one too.
This is my first. This is awful. Before I read it, I have to disclaimer. Actually, I guess I shouldn't say it then. Never mind.
Yeah, don't say it. Tell me after.
Okay. I'm glad I went with the one I went with.
Don't
all right.
Canceled.
Nope. Look, guys, it is rare when we do this show that I think, hey, don't say these words.
That's scary anyway.
Yep. I know one day if I ever get in trouble, it's because of something I said on this podcast.
Probably.
All right. Usually we do a what did you learn, but I'm gonna be honest. I didn't learn anything this episode.
I guess the phrase post-rage regret or come down, I didn't know that was the word for it, so I can say that I learned that.
I know that we have seen that before.
Well, I don't have a good memory, so
I can't think of a specific episode, but I know we've seen it before. That's not a new thing. And so I appreciate very much Benson being like, this is what this is. Because one of my biggest pet peeves, if we're going to go back to Dear Michelle Fazakis, Benson has been here for 27 years. Her saying, I've never seen this before. You better be positive.
Yeah. Agreed.
Especially because I can usually be like, actually on this episode.
You have seen it because I have.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't learn anything this episode.
That's fair.
But I did learn on this podcast.
Got so much juice downtown she could start her own beverage company.
That's true. I did learn in the comments here that I need to shut my mouth sometimes.
You knew that.
That's true, but a reminder is always nice. All right. Before we wrap up, I want to let everybody know that we'll be doing at least a special episode in June, which will be tangentially related. So make sure you have subscribed to us on anywhere that you are watching or listening to this podcast. If you're on YouTube, give us that thumbs up. Boom. Look at that. Hit the subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Also, if you're on iTunes, give us a rating and a review of 5 stars if you like us, 4 stars if you don't. We try to get at least 1 review per year because we don't ask for more. If you like silly merchandise related to the show or tangentially related or some stupid shit we've said on this podcast, check out the link below for our Redbubble. If you're on Spotify, you subscribe, follow, whatever the Spotify thing is. If you listen on a different platform, go to iTunes and leave a rating review letting us know what platform you listen on. Boom. I love reading the YouTube comments. Also, I read every single one, usually when you post them, and then I forget about it by the time we do the show again. So I'm sorry that we almost never mention them. Okay. Let me turn that off because it's annoying. Taylor, if people would like to keep up with you between now and the season premiere in the fall of season 27, what are you up to this summer? Where are you on the internet? And anything else you want to tell everybody?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Alphaba_Ann. You can also find me on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_. I work at Collider, so I do reviews and interviews. I just did the Junket for 9 Perfect Strangers season 2. That's a fun one. talk about therapy and crazy therapy, that show definitely fits the bill. So you can find me and all my work. Just Google my name plus the word Collider, and all of those should pop up. So I'll see you in the fall.
Amazing. I am on Instagram at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. And through the summer, you can find me on FANVERSATION. You can find the official Leverage Redemption after show and the official The Librarians the Next Chapter after show on Electric Now, which is a free app. So you can check those out if you like those shows. Those are the official shows with interviews from the sets and the cast and the crew and behind the scenes. So check those out. And if you like smutty, spicy romance novels, check out Good Little Library Mouse on Instagram. Good Little Library Mouse. Okay. Thank you for joining us. We love you all. Thank you to everyone who's live in our chat. Deanna and Alexa and Daryl and Tuesday. And did I miss anybody who was live in our chat? We love the people who watch live. We love the people who watch later as well. Thank you for being here. We will see you soon. Bye, everybody.